What's up, everybody? Jackson Fuller here alongside Owen Hassel, and we're finally doing another one of these where we get to talk about high school sports and games actually being played. I think the last one we did was an update on Hurricane Florence and where the high school sports scene kind of stood, but now we're going to talk about things that go on the field. It is week 8 of high school football in North Carolina. Feels like week 4 or 5 here in southeastern North Carolina, Owen.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
Yeah.
And you've had the Three Rivers Conference has had some games played, I think, and you've had some other conferences in eastern North Carolina that have been able to play a little bit north of us. But as far as southeastern North Carolina, that's really what it is.
Yeah. So we're going to be at 3 games this weekend, 4 games we're kind of highlighting today. Let's start off with, I don't think people expected this would be the game of the week, maybe when conference play started, but it is going to be Topsail at South Brunswick. The Pirates are 4-0. The Cougars are 3-1. Both teams off to terrific starts. And the winner of this game is really going to have a leg up for a 3A playoff spot. It's a really big game early in the Mid-Eastern season. That's where I'll be, down in Southport. Follow along at Star News Varsity as always for updates. And Owen, it's been a while since we've seen either of these teams play, but if we can go back to early September, what stands out when you think about these two teams matching up?
It's been a while since we've seen anything.
Yeah,
sports related, and it's hard to even think too much about it because it's what is the mindset this week? Because most teams have been able to practice now for 3-4 days, so now those first couple days was really just, hey, everybody, I'm glad we're back together. Everybody okay? That's kind of the scenario, just like with the public schools just getting back in New Hanover on Thursday.
Yep.
Their counselors and the school system said, well, Thursday and Friday is really just, it's not even about cracking open books. It's how are you doing and how are you coping, and we're glad we're having a piece of normalcy. That's the same thing for the football field. Topsail, of course, we know about Noah Laval, Cody Wallace and company, and what Topsail has done, but the same questions remain even after this layoff. 4-0. Okay, great. You did it last year. I would have to think the Pirates have a big chip on their shoulders to say, okay, the non-conference schedule not that great like it was last year, but we took care of business.
Right.
And we will take care of business now in conference and prove that it's not a fluke. We're a good team. I'm sure there are a lot of doubters. They're probably the most doubted 4-0 team in the state.
Yeah. I think, obviously nobody's thankful for Hurricane Florence, but, if you're going to pick a bright side of this for Topsail, they don't start the season, my Mid-Eastern season with New Hanover and Hoggard back-to-back. They get a South Brunswick team who's, obviously they're accomplishing a lot of things so far in the season as well, but I think if they had to pick between Hoggard, New Hanover, and South Brunswick, they'd choose the Cougars. But on the South Brunswick side, guys like Mason Phillips, Campbell Woody, John Porter, there's a core there that's led them this year to this 3-1 start, already matched the amount of wins they had all of last year, and they want to keep it rolling. No doubt. Rocky, and of course, I think we're talking too about 2 regions that kind of sandwich Wilmington that got hit a little bit harder than New Hanover County and Pender and Brunswick. So it should be, an emotional night, just getting another step to normalcy. I think that's what kind of everyone's talking about with those, with all the counties involved in Hurricane Florence, but with those 2 specifically, when you see the kind of damage that happened in Pender and Brunswick County. So that'll be a fun one down in Southport. That's where I'll be. We can talk about where you'll be next. You'll be at Legion Stadium for a battle between Laney and New Hanover. Wildcats got a big win against Garner last time out, and the Buccaneers got their first win of the season against Triton. I think New Hanover's, they've got to be considered big favorites in this one.
I would think so, and what the New Hanover did against Garner spoke volumes for what. I'm not saying again, I think we brought it up before, that would have been like a season-crushing loss with Garner and losing momentum, all that kind of stuff, but obviously a victory makes things so much better. And you mentioned it in the story that Earl Smith just showed the guys when they finally got back, hey, let's just watch what happened there, because wasn't that good times? Let's get back to some good times, because we had some good times just before the storm, and we can have them again. And it probably kept New Hanover in that situation where, okay, they're a favorite again to win the Mid-Eastern Conference, I would still give Hoggard a leg up, but at this point, it put New Hanover back for certain in the conversation of those two teams being the best in the league.
Yeah. And Laney, of course, they got their first win. It's a new season for all these teams. And, even if maybe Laney is, a step below New Hanover, you want to show signs that you can be competitive in the Mid-Eastern Conference. And they want to finish right around that third or fourth mark like they have consistently for the past 5 or so years. And
I think something interesting to watch will be New Hanover's giving up points still.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to continue to happen. They're going to need to score 40 points maybe a game to win. That's not a problem in New Hanover's offense, but I think that's going to have to be more the norm. But Laney's had trouble scoring for the most part of the year. Is this an opportunity for Sherrod Sidbury to really stand up and make some plays and could become a shootout? If it becomes a shootout, then you got something interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last game that we'll be covering will be Alex Riley will be at Hoggard for the Vikings hosting West Brunswick. Hoggard coming off of its first loss of the season against Carolina Forest, which was just kind of a strange game where the defense didn't step up. The offense made a lot of plays, but also shot itself in the foot a couple times. And the Trojans, since winning week 1, I think we all thought, wow, there's signs with this program. They've lost 3 straight, but whole new season again in Mid-Eastern play. Can they put a scare into the Vikings? They played them really tough at the BB&T Jamboree.
Yeah, of course it was a jamboree, and that feels like months ago now, which is just about accurate. I don't know if you can put too much stock in that for this game. But if you're West Brunswick, if you're Coach Hickman,
you'd like to
show those clips as much as possible. Coach Underwood with Hoggard seemed like he was pretty complimentary of his guys during practice this week and saying, hey, we're just glad we're out there. And yes, there's going to be some rust and there's going to be some tweaks that we normally wouldn't have to do in week 7, week 8 that we had to because of the layoff. That's expected.
Yeah.
But I think all that aside, both teams have to deal with it. All teams are having to deal with it. And Hoggard should put together a pretty good performance. Again, defensively for Hoggard will show that you lost to Carolina Forest. You gave up some points that you're thinking, I thought we were better than this. But here was an ego check maybe.
Yeah.
And now you can really get down to business with conference play.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where they want to be hitting their strides. And then finally, the last Mid-Eastern game is Ashley at North Brunswick. 2 teams that one of them is going to start 1-0. So Coach Brian Davis, obviously the Scorpions are going through a tough time right now in light of Hurricane Florence. Talking to him yesterday, he said they still have 9 players that are displaced and not back with the team. Your heart goes out to all those players involved, and I bet it's going to be tough for the Scorpions to go out and play a football game on Friday night.
Yeah, and obviously it would be difficult regardless, and you hate to hear that. So many players, and North Brunswick not that long ago was a 2A school on top of it. So yeah, North Brunswick's 3A, but they're right there on that line. So numbers for them are a concern, probably more than any other team in the Mid-Eastern Conference. They might have the lowest numbers of any school in the Mid-Eastern. We'll see those ADM numbers when we get really later into the football season and know for sure. But regardless, if you have to pull up a bunch of JV players for this game back after all these weeks and you've been off, it is really, really difficult. And I'm thinking if you're Coach Davis, you want to get through this game as best you can, injury-free. Obviously, you want to win, but you just want to, I guess, I don't know if survive's the right word, but just make it through the best you can.
Yeah, and good thing for North Brunswick, they're coming off their first win of the year. They had been playing better since Hurricane Florence. And for Ashley, 2-1 entering conference play. When Hurricane Matthew hit, they were 2-1 as well, being they lost a game to Hurricane Matthew, I believe. So, one of these teams is going to be 1-0 and feeling pretty good about where they are despite all of the adversity that they fought early on this season.
Makai Stanley, I thought it was an interesting stat. You brought up 9 yards a carry?
Yeah, 9 yards a carry. And he's only a couple yards behind teammate Zach Williams for total yardage, but he's kind of their big play guy. So I'd expect him to get loose a little bit this Friday night.
And it's somebody that Coach Jeff Turner just raved about during the preseason. Oh, you got to see Mekhi Stanley. He'll be that guy for us. And yeah, coaches want to prop up their players preseason.
Yeah.
You kind of go, okay, and
he's been
we'll
really
see what
good.
happens. But I think he's delivered for the most part. And now we'll really see conference play, how the Screaming Eagles can do. Can they make some noise in the Mid-Eastern Conference? You really haven't done that.
It's an open year, that's for sure. I think even Hoggard and New Hanover are down a little bit, but you expect them to be the favorites. But otherwise, I really have no idea what those final standings are going to be.
Who's that number 3 team in the conference? I think that's a question we ask a lot. But in this case, who might be the number 2 team? There's, like you said, there's not that ceiling that stops like you thought of last year for certain.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for watching so much. Follow along this Friday night at Star News Varsity. I'll be in Southport for South Brunswick hosting Topsail. At Owen Hassel SN, again at Legion Stadium for the New Hanover game against Laney. And at Alex Riley SN at Hoggard, where the Vikings will be hosting West Brunswick. Everyone have a safe Friday night, and we're really thankful that there will be football this week and more sports to come down the road.